one last week because I wasn't feeling very well, and I should have tweeted something out and I didn't. And that's my fault. So with that, I will be doing another mystery stream on Thursday coming up, if not Wednesday. So I'll definitely let every people know. But I'm going out of my usual schedule to really, really, really talk about some shit that happened. This morning in Orlando, Florida, a gunman walked into the Pulse nightclub, which is it's a gay nightclub, and basically killed 50 people, injuring 53 more. That to me is it's absolutely a senseless, inhumane act of domestic terrorism. However you want to label it, you can label it what you want, but it's fucking terrorism, hands down. And I really don't honestly know too much of the specifics of everything. I'm not sure if this guy actually, people were saying that he did pledge his allegiance to ISIS, and we all know ISIS hates us in the Western civilization and everything like that. And that it's a fucked up thing. But apparently, he pledged himself to ISIS before he went in and did what he did. Now, I don't know honestly for sure if they fully confirmed it that it was ISIS related, but I mean, I have not been able to follow the story since this morning. I had to work, so if things change since then, let me know in the comments below. I for one am totally appalled by this. I really am, and I'm not making this stream and using the Orlando shooting hashtag or whatever like that. I'm not doing this for likes and for subscribe. I'm not doing it for that. If you want to like and subscribe, go right ahead and do that. No, this is me talking about real shit. This isn't me joking about a game that I'm playing or whatever. This is me talking about real shit, which is sometimes that people normally don't do. And this is coming from a guy who's been on this planet for 33 years, have seen many, many things, things that I'm not unfortunate. I'm unfortunate enough to not be able to forget them. But for something like this to happen, it's fucking stupid. The whole thing is fucking stupid. And I always say all this in hindsight and everything like that. And honestly, I'm glad that the police got his ass, hands down. I know it's a wrong thing for me to say that because it's another human being, but in this case, I'm glad, so glad that the SWAT team nailed his fucking ass. It's a really shitty thing. God, it's really hard for me to talk about this. And the reason for that is, I mean, I have supported the LGBTQ community for many, many, many years. I have never had a problem with gay people. My adopted daughter, actually, she's gay. I know both her and her wife, and they're wonderful people. And it bugs me because, my daughter could have been at that. She could have been there. She could have been one of the victims, So yeah, I mean, it freaks me the fuck out. The thing about it is, though, the one thing that pisses me off is that everybody's bitching about gun control, gun control, gun control. Look, fuck gun control right now. Seriously, fuck gun control. 50 fucking people lost their lives. 50 human beings that are never going to be able to be around to talk, joke, laugh, see their fucking families again. Their families are never going to be able to hug them, kiss them, bring them over for Thanksgiving. They're never going to be able to do any of that shit. And the only thing people want to do is bitch about gun control. Okay, let me explain something to you. Gun control, it's not the end-all be-all to senseless violence. Unfortunately, it's not. It really isn't. And honestly, if let's say that the government does put a tighter yoke on gun control. Okay, let's say hypothetically they do it. Criminals are going to find a way around that. They always do. Look at Prohibition. Let's go back on history. Look at the Prohibition era when they tried to outlaw alcohol. What happened? You had rum runners. You had people that were making rum, moonshine, rum, everything like that, and they were running fucking rum to bars and shit underneath the cops' fucking noses. So you can't sit there and tell me that gun control is going to save it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Shit like that never works. Because it's always, something like this is always going to happen, and in the end, somebody's going to figure out how to beat the system. So really, when you say gun control, yeah, good luck with that. Gun control to me, it's a fleeting memory. It's a stupid theoretical idea that is exactly that, a theory. But what I want to talk about in this particular stream is that, let me, dumb dog, shoot in the ass. What I want to talk about in this stream is what can you do to protect yourself. Now I know there's people out there that have said, you know, buy a gun or whatever. You know what? Buy a gun. Seriously, buy a gun. I'm not gonna make this shit up. If you're, I mean, it's getting to the point nowadays where you can't go, where no place is fucking safe. Nowhere. Not the grocery store, not the titty bar, not the fucking, not, just nowhere is fucking safe. Not one bit. So you know what? All gun control debate aside, we're gonna lock that in a box and we're gonna chuck that motherfucker into the Bermuda Triangle. That's what we're gonna do. So fuck gun control. I want to talk to you guys. See, here's the thing. I'm a humanist. I genuinely give a fuck about my fellow human being. There are a lot of people that I don't like, but I would never, ever wish death on anybody. That's not the person I am. People can say that I'm, you know, pro-life. No, it's not that. Actually, I'm pro-choice if you want to get technical. But I'm pro-human. I'm a humanist. And that's why I genuinely care about everybody. And honestly, the way I look at it is this. If you want to protect yourself, then buy a fucking gun. Hands down, buy a fucking gun. And honestly, it's really not that hard. It really isn't. What the first thing you want to do, and I'll run it through you, run it through a couple of things with you guys. Hi, mannequin. First and foremost, check your state laws and make sure and find out if they have an open carry law. If they have an open carry law, great. If you're over the age of, I'm not sure. Every state's different for what legal age you can purchase a gun. Handguns, I think, are different than rifles. But, I mean, if you're choosing to go the handgun route, which I would recommend, and I'll tell you why. If you're choosing to go the handgun route, then make sure you're the correct age, you know. If you are, buy one. Practice with it every day. Learn the innings and learn the inside and outside of how that weapon works, how it functions, how it feels. Know how to disassemble it and how to clean it. Know how to load it. Know how fast you can change out a magazine once you empty the one that's in your gun, provided that you need to use more than one bullet. There's something should go down. Learn it. Become that. Make that gun a part of yourself, because this is what I can't stress enough. If you're looking for gun recommendations, what I can recommend is, it really all depends on the kind of person that you are. I mean, sure, obviously the bigger the gun, the more stopping power it's going to be, but you're not trying to hunt elephant here, okay? I mean, yeah, if they've got armor or whatever, but the likely chance that you will come across somebody actively wearing body armor to rob somebody is incredibly low. So what I'm saying is this. You want to stick to 32, 38 caliber, 9mm, or 45. A Desert Eagle might be pushing it. I mean, if you can handle, you know, using a Desert Eagle, and that's 50 caliber, that motherfucker kicks like a mule. So if you try to hold it with one hand, looking all badass, you're gonna break your fucking wrist. And seriously, don't underestimate the power of that gun. I've had the privilege of firing one, and it kicks a lot. It made my fucking hand numb. Didn't break it though. One thing I'm gonna point out is, for recommendations, a Glock is a good plot. They're lightweight. They have excellent stopping power. A great magazine capacity. Let's see. The Jericho 941 is also another great weapon. It has, you can use 3 different types of ammunition for it. 45, let me see, it's like 45, 38, and 9mm, I believe. I'm starting to sound like a fucking idiot. Okay, look, well, the point I'm trying to make is that I want you, and you don't have to listen to me. You can leave the stream if you want. I would completely understand it. People that are going to see this are going to come watch it, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is that learn to protect yourself. Please, 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 please. Protect yourself. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, and you're stuck in a situation where you're being confronted by somebody who has the intent of killing you, and you need to protect yourself or your family or both, it's going to come down to it, whether it's you or them, and you've got to be the one to make that fucking decision. Do you want to continue to live? Well, then you might have to do something that you're not going to like. And I'm not saying that you need to go out there and take somebody's life. Fuck that. No, I'm not condoning that whatsoever. I'm just saying that maybe we need to start learning to protect ourselves, because these assholes, these extremists, these whatever, they could be Muslim extreme, or excuse me, I shouldn't say Muslim extremists, ISIS supporters, they could be extremists or anything like that. They could be just some random thug who happens to think they're they're the walking fucking badass, whatever. Anybody, or it could be one dude having a bad fucking day. All it takes is for somebody to stop giving a fuck, who just so happens to have a gun or something else, and then that's it. In a blink of an eye, your shit's over with. I don't want that to happen to any of you guys. I most certainly don't want it to happen to me. Which is why, once I move, I'm going to be buying a gun. I am. And honestly, I've never really been for guns, because I didn't really see the point. But I think as of late, I think that was kind of like the last push I needed. Because honestly, I love my family, I really do, and I don't want to see something happen to them. Go ahead, get you some, Strong. I'll just sit back and watch. I don't want to see anything happen to them. I really don't. So I'm gonna do that, and I mean, I already have weapons training. It's kind of half-assed, but I plan on taking some courses if I need to. It's an open carry state in Louisiana, although I can get a concealed permit if I need it. But that's a whole another issue. But anyway, yeah. So let's say for instance that you do happen to purchase a gun, and you are living in a open carry state. Okay. If you're gonna walk in a public area, there will be times where people will get a little nervous. Okay, and as long as your weapon is holstered and you're not showing any kind of signs of aggression, and you're just doing the normal shit that you would normally do any day, most of the time people would just think that you're an off-duty cop or a member of the military or something like that. But there are going to be times where people will call the police because they're a bit concerned, and the police will stop you. Now, do not feel threatened. The cops will not confiscate their gun. Legally, they cannot confiscate your gun at all. But what they're going to do is they are going to take your gun from you briefly. They're going to examine it to make sure there is no illegal modifications done to it, ask you why you're carrying it, and then that's it. Then they'll give you your gun back and be on your way. That's all they're going to do. That's it. I know this for a fact. I've had friends of mine that have open carried before here in Colorado, and sure enough, they've been stopped by the police, and that's what happens. They stop you, they ask you to see the weapon, you give them the weapon, or they'll take it, and then they'll just examine it, make sure there's no illegal modifications done to it whatsoever, and ask you why you carry it, and that is it. If they would not suspect you of committing a crime, especially if there's an open state or open law or open carry law. Fuck, man. And since there's an open carry law and it's well known, people are not going to freak out. They're just doing it for their safety as well as yours. And that's why I'm encouraging you. That's why I'm honestly encouraging you guys to just. I had to turn my volume down. Sorry. Really encouraging you guys to stand up and start looking into something like this, because this morning was a fucking tragedy. It was so goddamn stupid that somebody had an axe to grind or whatever, and he goes and kills 50 fucking innocent people who were there to have a good time. That's it, and that's what pisses me off the most. 50 people just going to a club and having a good fucking time. No harm in that. And then this dude's gonna go off the fucking deep end because why? I haven't honestly seen a motivation yet. I haven't seen anybody say anything about, like, well, this is the reason why he did it. If there was motivation, I don't know anything about it yet. But it's a fucked up thing. It really is. And like I said, I've said it once before, and I'm glad, very, very glad that the police got him. I really am. The thing about it is, though, people, I really, really want you guys to know that the world that we live in now, it's not the same as it used to be. It's really not. And I could say this from my perspective. I was born in the 80s. And, you know, the 80s, most of the crime in the 80s we had, a lot of it was in gang-ridden areas such as Los Angeles, areas in New York and whatnot. And that's usually where most of that stuff was localized at, as far as I know. And not to mention during that time, cocaine was a huge thing. So, naturally, you know, that's when the drug trade started and everything like that. So it's really just a sad state of affairs. And it really, I can't even fucking, I can't, this is the problem when I can't piece together words. That's how fucking upset I am over this. And look, guys, basically, I want y'all to be safe. I really do. I mean that. I've got a lot of friends in a lot of different places, in other countries and other states. One of my closest friends, he's been my friend for, Jesus Christ, almost 20 years. You know, he lives in Florida. He doesn't live in Orlando. But still, you know, I have other friends that live in Florida. I have other friends that live in different areas of the country where shit can go south really fast. And I'm worried about him, you know. What if he was there? You know, what if he was at that club at the time when all that shit went down? I would have lost a friend. And I'd have been right there with the victim's family, grieving, mourning, knowing that I'd never be able to see them again. I don't want that to happen to anybody. Not even whether or not they're my friends or if they're people that I don't know. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. I really don't. So please, people, when I say really take measures to protect yourself, I'm dead fucking serious about that. I really am. And I cannot stress this enough. Buy a gun. Seriously, gun. Learn how it works, practice with it, go to the range every weekend or every other day whenever you can afford it, and really learn how to use it. You know, because you may never ever come across something like that. You may never be thrust into a fucking situation where you'll have to, you know, defend yourself with lethal force. You may never, but there may be that one time where it does happen. And if it does happen, you already know what the fuck to do to fix the situation, prevent yourself and others from being hurt. You just putting that out there. I'm just saying, you never know. It's like that one line from Alien vs. Predator when I forget the main character chick's name, but she was talking to one of the other gals with the short hair. She was packing a gun or something in her bag, and she says, it's like a condom. I'd rather have one and not need it than need it and not have one. That makes sense, especially in the case of a condom. Honestly, I'd rather have one and not need it than not have one. But all I'm saying is that, please, people, you know, really, 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 really consider doing something. And you know what? And honestly, if you don't feel comfortable wielding a gun, you know what? That's perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. I completely understand that. I'm not saying the whole bring a knife to a gunfight. You know what? Actually, there are people that have brought knives to gunfights, and they've walked out perfectly fine. Throwing knives are a good option. I mean, if you don't feel like using a gun, learn to throw throwing knives. I'm not making this shit up. Learn to throw throwing knives. If you don't feel like using weapons, period, learn a martial art. The human body, when honed, can be the most dangerous weapon on the planet. Look at people like Bruce Lee. He was a lethal weapon, a walking lethal weapon. This man took Wing Chun and evolved it and turned it into Jeet Kune Do, which, from what I understand, anybody who is a practitioner of Jeet Kune Do, I believe when they hit like a secondary black belt level, I could be wrong on this one, they have to register as a lethal weapon. Jeet Kune Do, Krav Maga, I mean, there are martial arts out there that are designed to kill your opponent. Obviously, you have some restraint, which is understandable. But you know what? If you don't feel comfortable wielding a gun or a knife, then might I suggest taking up a martial art? I can recommend Krav Maga. It's a pretty rough fucking training regimen, but it pays out in the way that if somebody comes at you with a weapon, you can disarm them in less than 2 seconds, and they're on the ground screaming in pain because you've done broken three bones in their arm. If Krav Maga is not your thing, then I would recommend Aikido. Aikido is a martial art that basically uses your opponent's weight and energy against them. Essentially, you're basically just redirecting their energy, and it's a lot of joint and pivot locks, so a lot of restraining type techniques. There are some strikes. The weapon that you would train with the most, I do believe, would be a bow staff. It's usually just blunt weapons, so ton for a bow staff, sectional flail, nunchuck, stuff like that. You know, I'm just saying I'm just saying to protect yourself, and remember that you want to protect yourself and the people that you care about. That's overall what I'm trying to get to you. Something like this happens, you know what? It's a horrible, horrible thing. It really is. And I know I'm rambling, and I'm starting to get to that rambling level, which means that I'm running out of things to say because I don't want to repeat. But what happened in Orlando should never have happened anywhere else. I mean, 50 people, that's more than Virginia Tech and the Sandy Hook Elementary massacre. You know, the human lives, man. I don't give a fuck what sexual preference they have. The human lives, all of it. And I go on Facebook and I see a lot of people bitching about gun control. I see one friend of mine, you know, who makes a valid point, and then another person who is a notable voice actor, I won't name his name, goes on there and just lays into him. Just completely lays into him. And it's like, dude, did you even bother to fucking read what he said? You know, and it took a lot in me not to go off in this guy, but because I am technically a representative of an anime convention here in Colorado, I have to, and the fact that I direct press, I have to be extra careful with the things I say to those type of people. Because he is a very well-known voice actor, I bit my tongue, which, you know, is something I normally don't do, but in this case I didn't want to bring any unnecessary fucking heat down on me or whatever, even though I would have been 100% right and justified in telling him to shut the fuck up and reread what he wrote. Basically, the point I'm trying to make is, people, please take a second to really reevaluate things and to really make that decision to be prepared, or not the decision, but to be known that there will be a time where it will come down to it where you will have to defend yourself or somebody you care about, or both.
He's in the camp.
It's
Call in the bots. Turn him loose.
it's a shitty thing. It honestly and truly is. And like I said, I really, really hope that none of y'all ever have to deal with that again. I never have to deal with that. So with that, I'm gonna kill the stream because, again, I was only doing this briefly to kind of put myself and my opinions out there for everybody to hear. People, please take care of yourself. Seriously, really consider it, and just learn that the world that we live in, it's changing. It's changing, and it's changing not necessarily for the better, but not necessarily for the worse. I'm just saying, please consider protecting yourself and those you care about. I'll be back Thursday. If I don't have plans on Wednesday, I'll be on Wednesday. So just keep an eye on my Twitter, and I'll be mystery streaming that day with a special guest, provided they're available. Thanks, you guys, for stopping in and listening to me. Just know that I genuinely give a shit. That there are people like me out there who actually care. I'm one of them, and I want you guys to know that, okay? So take care of yourself and your families. And as always, stay beautiful and definitely stay safe.